We are recording. So here we are, we're back again. And today we are not two, we are three. So welcome back. And we are thrilled to have Dr. Lorin Roche with us today. Hello, good afternoon, good morning for us here in Australia. So Lorin, Michael and I have been having these conversations and recording them and putting them out there and going through the essence, the basics of instinctive meditation. We've covered a few topics and from our caravan and our home. And yeah, Michael reached out and thought, well, hey, why don't we invite the master to join us? And here you are. And we thought maybe we could share a conversation together about rhythm. Michael, where are you at the moment?
I'm in Kakadu in the Northern Territory. Absolute masterpiece of nature's creation here in Kakadu. Relatively untouched. And as we were talking before, you don't go swimming in Kakadu because if you do, these things just rise up out of the water and they take a look and maybe they do that. So
yeah.
So,
food. A snack.
Exactly.
Look, honey, it's one of those interesting tasting snacks.
Yeah, and we were talking about the crocodiles and the fact that they've been here and they watched the dinosaurs come and go, you know.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to watch us come and hang around for
it could easily
a while too,
happen.
but
yeah,
but they'll watch us go as well, which is amazing. That's if we're talking about rhythm, there's a big rhythm to all of life that is much bigger than we can possibly imagine. You know, there's like the rhythm of the spinning of the whole galaxy, movement of the universe in and out, and there's much smaller rhythms. So in meditation and outside meditation, we've got this rhythm of life that is there, and we're so glad to have you come and join us, Lorin, and talk about a rhythm.
Yeah, so just, so a lot of you listening are probably over here in Australia, and then I'm just across this beautiful ocean right here. It's like the west coast of the US to California. There's a profound friendship between actually Hawaii, Australia, and California, and development of surfing technology. and surfing is high tech. It co-evolved. The gear co-evolved with airplane, because a lot of the early surfers, like my dad and his friends, were airplane engineers, and they took the technology from building airplanes and applied it to surfboards. And space. They took space age materials. So rhythm. So do yourself a favor and completely forget the idea of stillness and blankness and having anything to do with meditation or anything that you would want. But life is rhythm. That's what life is, rhythm and flow. And we're built to love rhythm and flow. We love rhythm and flow. We adore rhythm and flow deeply, each of us in our own way. And music is rhythm and flow, and love making. And when we're like walking in nature, we're immersed in the rhythms of nature. If we're watching the ocean or swimming in the ocean, there's rhythm and flow. And at a more micro level, there's waves everywhere. Like the light that we're seeing by is waves. What do they call? I think light travels at 1 billion kilometers an hour, about 750 million miles an hour. Sound, the sound that you're hearing by, is wave also, and it depends. The speed of sound varies depending on air, and it goes really quickly through solids. Sound goes much faster. I forget the speed in a solid. So sound is waves of energy, and so is light. And so our senses are always drinking waves from creation, waves from contact with the universe around us. And we contact our insides, our inner life, when we feel our breathing or see our thoughts or hear our thoughts. It's also waves. So what we're experiencing in what we call meditation is wave in different forms: light, sound, sensation, rhythms, and flow. In between the rhythms is flow. So like breathing is a rhythm. In and out, and then in again. And if you're watching, if you're alone, I invite you to make up your own dance with the rhythm of breath. The out breath, giving your breath to the world, and then the in breath, breathing in. It's much more interesting to move with the breath than to sit still. It's better in every way. And consider playing with the movement for the first 2 or 3 minutes of meditation, and then at the end. And this lets you bridge from the world of action into the world of just resting in yourself. Breathing out, and then breathing in. So we call that rhythmic motion. And in between the two is continuous flow. So rhythm and flow go together. And we can be intrigued by any part of the flow, because there's a slightly different texture to breathing out than breathing in. So let me time 1 minute and say for 60 seconds, let's see what's interesting in breathing out, turning and breathing in. And can I notice a difference?
So I find that for me, that after 2 or 3 breaths, when I come into consciousness about my breath, after it's only two or three, that I really want to rest in the emptiness at the end of an exhale for a long for a long time. So in a minute, I won't have 15 breath cycles.
Yeah.
It'll be 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
and rest in that emptiness for me. Rest in that space between
Rest in that.
and inhalation.
Right. So when you're practicing, as you're exploring, and always be exploring whenever you approach what we call meditation or yoga, always being exploring, and be alert for those things that you crave. And don't care about what the rules are. Have no, like, who is it says, was it Jesus or Jehovah said, have no other gods before me?
Yeah.
It's like, don't let anybody else's preferences, like the imaginary rule book, take precedence over your own cravings, because these are your portals, your particular portals into your inner world. And so we discover these. We can think of these practices, yoga, meditation, whatever you want to call it, as a situation in which we can discover that which thrills us, the thrill of being alive. If you want a really good definition of meditation, it's savor the thrill of being alive.
Yeah.
And then, like, sub 2 would be find the way in which you are in love with the rhythm of life, the rhythm and flow of life. That, check out those 2 axioms as definitions of meditation.
Lorin, can I share with you my experiences then? So usually I find that I can savor the experience of being alive through breath. When I'm walking, maybe in the ocean or after a workout or last thing at night laying in bed, it's just delightful. It feels so pleasurable, really, to just be with the breath. But just then, when I felt this pressure, because I'm on camera, I received an instruction and I was kind of told to breathe in and breathe out for 1 minute. Instantly, the rebel in me comes up and I'm like, I can't do this. I won't do this. So I felt, I was curious, but, the inhale for me felt like anxiety provoking. And then the exhale felt almost like it was trapped. I couldn't let it out because I'm like, I've got to focus on this I was concentrating, I was focusing for 1 minute. But normally, it is delightful for me. So that was just interesting experience.
That's
there.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because honoring the rebel is so important. And the challenge, it would be better to never meditate or do any of this stuff. Be better than to ever betray your rebel. Your inner rebel is the only part of you that won't betray you. That's the part of you that just on your side. I'm going to see if I can't find some great quote. There's Deva Premal has this beautiful chant. It's called Perfection, and one of her albums. She's chanting with the Kyoto monks, and it's Gate Gate Pada Sam Gate Bodhisvaha. And this professor of Sanskrit has decoded this in the context as being a rebellion against the orthodoxy of the time. So Gate means gone, Paragate is gone, far gone to the other shore. Parasamgate is completely gone. And he decodes it as like all you Brahmins, like all you like official yogis and you guys like with religious posts who everybody has to come to you to name their child, get married, die, every ceremony. You don't own the truth. We can get all this done without sacrificing animals and killing trees. So that's his sensibility. So there's actually secretly there's rebellion in all of the meditation traditions. But as they've been transmitted over the centuries, we forget it because it's encoded. It becomes like a church. And it's the same thing with Jesus, was a complete rebel. Complete rebel. And then like 1400 years later, the Catholic Church owns most of South and Central America. They own the land, and everybody in it is their slave and working in the silver mines. So the rebellion gets lost. And so whenever you're practiced, the actual technique of any of these practices, if you call them meditation, yoga, awareness, is be sensitive to your inner rebellion and take the side of the rebel. And first find out what she wants, because in some way the rebel will just be going, I wanted to give the finger, but I won't. It's saying, fuck all these better people, like I'm me. And then inside of that is actually me, like my practice. What's my practice? And the intention of yoga is always sensual pleasure and sexual joy, and just the pleasure of being in your body, sensual pleasure that feeds us. Freedom. So kama is the word used in Sanskrit. Kama. It's sensual pleasure, sexual pleasure, erotic flow, fun, joy, just the delight of existence, of being in a body. Kama. Moksha, freedom. Inhabit your freedom, feeling free to be yourself. Artha is creating wealth, being in a flow of wealth. You can buy food, pay the rent, have a house. And dharma, which is your duties and your chores. So yoga or awareness practices are always to support that, because life is always flowing in a current of pleasure, freedom, wealth, or abundance, as we call it in our own term, and honor. And any system, religious system, a meditation tradition, somebody's workshop, it's very likely, if has turned into a system to imprison you. Each teaching system tends to turn into like a jail really quickly, and it'll join with any inner tendencies we have from any pattern in our family of say that women don't have a right to be their own independent self, or men. And so it's tempting to say that most people who become deeply involved in meditation and yoga practices have, without realizing it, become enslaved to some negative aspect. And so it's challenging to take the side of your rebel. It's challenging, but that is the path. It's essential.
Something that
most people that I started meditation with 52 years ago, it's like you look at them, you talk with them for a while, and it's like, God, they gave up a big part of their soul some time ago. And then they even forgot that they gave it up.
Something we've talked a fair bit about, Lorin, is when we go in through a gateway or a doorway, or however, whether it's through awareness of breath or our senses or whatever, that stuff happens in our mind, in our body, in our soul, in our heart, that people have been told to knock down, to stop the thinking, stop the feeling, stop the sensations and the like. And yet there's a natural flow through when we're with ourselves. There's a natural flow of different energies that come up and rise and fall as we be with ourselves for a while. And it might be a few seconds or it might be a few minutes where we sit with ourselves and we feel stuff. And you've got a couple of different models of that. Yeah. One's more sophisticated, a bit fuller, and then there's the shorter, the three part ones. Would you want to talk about maybe the different energies that we flow through?
Let's play with that. Now, one of the two-part rhythm, the dual rhythm, is being and doing. This is the simplest pulsation.
Yeah.
And we love doing. We love running around and doing stuff and being ourselves and expressing, driving and talking to our friends and running and walking and playing and working. So we wake up in the morning and we want to go. We want to go do stuff. And the other impulse is being. So instead of looking at the chart anymore, let's play with the rhythm. So put one side of your body, okay, that's doing, and the other side is being. So let's put this in our muscle memory. It's like, I love doing, and I love resting in myself. Now, in the rhythm, we might be active 16, 17 hours a day, and we sleep maybe 7. So maybe we're more active than we are asleep. But it's like, I love doing. It's like, I love being. I love doing nothing. I love to take a walk and just look at the ocean, or lie down on the sofa at the end of the day, or sit in front of the fireplace with the dogs, or sit and listen to music. So this impulse of doing and being. So let's actively be in the dance. I love doing. I love doing all the things I love. I love being and resting, recharging, regenerating. So that's, if you just get this and realize that anytime you practice yoga or meditation, it's a celebration of that rhythm. And say you sit down or lie down and meditate for 20 minutes, your body, your nervous system, your senses will fluctuate between the ecstasy of doing and the ecstasy of being. So that's the dual rhythm. And you can actually roll with that. If you remember this and embrace both polarities of this rhythm and everywhere in between, you'll be good. Now, we can think of a 3-part rhythm, which adds a little texture, because when we rest, when we're just doing nothing, letting our body heal and recharge, the relaxation and the restfulness, when you're just being, that leads to a state of repair. Whenever the body is a continuous flow, like every part of the body is in continuous flow. There's blood, oxygen, nutrition, prana, continuously flowing to every part of the body, regenerating it, even when we're active. Now, when we rest, whether we're meditating or just like at the beach or by a river, or sleep at night, when we rest, we give over to accelerated healing. So as soon as the body senses, oh, okay, I'm restful for a few minutes, it'll shift into repair mode. And there'll be times when you're sitting there meditating and just feel, oh my God, this is so peaceful. And then it's almost like you can hear the repair trucks come out, like beep, 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 like the road repair crews come out. They put up their cones and block traffic, and the guy has a sign, slow down. You're sitting there or lying there, and all of a sudden you like feel this repair work. Little guys with little microscopic people with pickaxes clearing out roadblocks, and there was like there was a landslide, or they're repairing the road, and it hurts. You can feel that something intense is going on. And even though it hurts, if you understand intellectually, oh, I'm restful, and therefore my body is repairing itself, then you can actually enjoy it. You can be underneath. You'll feel the animal of your body loving the healing process. So this is the 3-part. Like, I love action, I love doing, I love resting, and I love healing. Because resting always leads to healing. That's the way nature built bodies. Nature built bodies to heal up when we're resting. Go ahead, Michael.
And you talk about that healing part. It's got some ouch in it. Yeah,
it's always got an ouchiness.
And that's when people often think, oh, I'm supposed to be quiet, I'm supposed to be still in my mind, I'm not supposed to be feeling these sensations, I'm not supposed to be having these ouchy thoughts and stuff like that. And we've talked a lot about being really tender with ourselves in our previous conversations, about whatever's arising is learning to welcome that, and to be one of our rules. We've got 4 rules that we've sort of been working around. One of our rules is being exquisitely tender with yourself, with whatever comes up.
That's right. So meditators need to understand intellectually how life works. It's probably better to not meditate. Don't do yoga, pranayama, unless you're going to join with the life force. It's better not to meditate at all if you're going to go in as an act of warfare against life, because you'll just wind up interfering with your health in major ways. When bodies are self-repairing machines, we're self-repairing, self-evolving, self-adapting. And so when we have a rest break, like say even when we sit down and take a break to eat lunch, or when we'll be hiking and we'll sit somewhere after a long hike and just look at the view, or at night when we sleep, bodies are built so that when we rest, they enter the state of repair. And repair is very busy, and it hurts some. So meditation is actually a rhythm of sometimes pure, delicious restfulness, and then ouch, which is very similar actually to getting a massage. Like when your sore muscles are being massaged, or say, ouch, ooh, whew. There's an ouch and an ooh, and it's a relief. And so that is an essential skill for anyone that's going to play and explore in the realm of awareness practices. Because what we think of as the standard instruction set of yoga meditation is actually harmful. If you have even a slight opinion that thoughts shouldn't come, that emotions shouldn't come, that I shouldn't be feeling sensations in my body, it's gonna disturb your process. It's gonna throw you off balance. Go do something else, like do archery, learn an instrument, do pots, go take walks in nature, learn to be with animals, garden, but don't go into meditation and insult the genius of life, because all of these rhythms that we're built out of are incandescent genius. Einstein has nothing on the rhythm of life, of the breath flowing in and out, the rhythm of life when we're active, and then we rest, and then we heal, and then we're active again. It's genius.
Lorin, can you think of, just to play devil's advocate, could you think of a time when it might be beneficial or it might be helpful to block that healing process and to restrict it or deny it? I'm just wondering if so many people that seems to be embedded in their meditation practice, could there be a benefit in any way from doing that?
Yeah. The way that you control people and enslave them is by making them, set them at war against themselves. Like, especially with women, if you just sort of let it be known, if you put out this vibe, like, don't think and don't feel, immediately all the women will be, I knew I was bad. They'll feel just defective. Like, women in general, you could say, I've heard this again and again, women just say, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong in meditation.
Yeah.
When I just let myself be myself, like I'm feeling too much, I'm thinking too much.
Yeah.
I'm too worried about my kids. I'm spending most of my time in meditation. It's like I'm practicing my chores. I'm thinking, oh yeah, if I went to that store first, then I went to that other place, then I could save 10 minutes and I'd be home earlier to make dinner. And then I have to put the soup on, and then I have to do this thing. Oh, I have to do this other thing. And so women just feel bad about themselves. So if you make people feel bad about themselves, you'll have more control over them. And that's the benefit.
So rather than celebrating, what's natural and instinctive, they set along this path of self-shaming and self-sabotage. Yeah. And so I'm thinking now what's happening in the world and how there's essentially this covert and overt mind control through, social media and big data, and that we're being trained not to think and not to celebrate our unique in our inner world. And I had a question right at the beginning, Lorin. You said something along the lines of, we are built to love rhythm, and life is rhythm and flow. You said something like that.
Yes, I did.
And I'm thinking, well, okay, well, why during this time of, a global pandemic, why are people having so much difficulty embracing the change and embracing the flow? Is it because we've been trained and conditioned not to embrace change and embrace flow, even though it's a natural part of being human? Are you in a position to comment on that? It's a sociological question.
We're getting false information to a great extent, because it's so profitable for news media to scare us. So human beings love narrative. We love narrative. So we're built to, everybody's out gathering berries and nuts and rutabagas all day. We come back and sit around the fire, and everybody talks about what they did all day, and then somebody tells stories. And so there's a tribal feeling. So we have all these media now. We all have screens around us all the time. And human beings love narrative so much that even if it's really negative, we'll love it. So if you watch, Fox News or many other channels, you feel like you're a character in a zombie apocalypse movie. And it's exactly like they're actually following the script. It's this really bad movie. There's like in here, there's the insane president. there's the authorities ignoring all the warnings. Like there's the one doctor who's saying, guys, I think this is really contagious. This is really, and everybody else going, nah, it's just that. You've seen this in every movie, every cliched movie. And then, and so people are buying into the narrative. Like, I don't know about Australia to the extent, but Americans are completely into the zombie apocalypse narrative, and everybody feels heroic, like whichever flag they're waving, they feel like they're standing up for the truth and protecting the country from the apocalypse. And the neighbors are the enemy. So it's a narrative. They're in a movie.
Seduced by the
and it's just part of it, the gift of our brain. And that's actually fine as long as they don't destroy the country and the world. The challenge, and one of the functions of meditation or awareness exercises, is to have accurate fear. And you'll only know what's your accurate fear if you walk around for 3 or 4 days without ever looking at one of these. And don't even talk to people about what's happening in the world. Just be in your senses. Like, what are the actual dangers? What are the actual dangers? And see if you can recalibrate your senses and your instincts. Because the news media, they've learned how to hijack our instincts and use them against us.
And not really because they're evil people. It's just a profitable business model. It's just that might not be their intention to be evil.
Not.
It's just for profit, and they've hijacked.
It's profit, and these are the smartest people in the world, and they're dynamic businessmen, and it's just so much fun. They're having so much fun. What's shocking is what pushovers Americans are. Like you'd think, don't they know? Don't they have? But Americans, for example, they have no contact with reality anymore. This speaking in general, because to have contact with reality, you have to live in your immediate senses for a couple of days. It's like, you know what? Like the world is, it's like fine. Like, there are fires burning. There's definitely global warming. And that's a huge challenge for decades. That's immense. There's immense challenges. And our bodies evolved to deal with climate change, with global warming. Our bodies evolved. Nature bred us to be adaptable.
So it seems that it could be hugely empowering for us, the listeners and the viewers, to develop this skill of being able to track the process of our own inbuilt healing rhythms. And that empowering in the sense that we understand ourselves, are more in touch with reality, and then maybe able to then integrate into the real world with a little more power, I guess, of being connected to what actually is true and real. Do you think, just maybe to wrap it up, Lorin, you could give us just a really simple instruction to support the development of that skill of just tracking the inner rhythms of our healing powers, our inbuilt healing mechanisms?
So one simple practice to do in the morning for 5 minutes, and when you come home from work, or at least for the of us who are able to leave and then come back, or just whenever you want to call it a day, just sit somewhere or lie on the floor And okay, I'm going to give 5 minutes to being in love with rhythm. And like, I love sleeping, and touch in with your love of the rest cycle. Good sleeping, cat naps, sitting by the river, sitting forest bathing, sitting surrounded by nature. And sometimes walking the dogs is more restful than sitting still. So let's call it restful. And then action, full on action. So you can love both polarities of resting and action, being, where I'm just letting myself be, and then doing, where I'm throwing myself into doing. And if you do this, what happens is a figure eight develop between the two, being and doing. You start to get like an infinity sign. And when you appreciate both, your body develops it into a swing. And this is healing. So it gives your body a chance to rehearse the movement of these two polarities, the rhythm between being and doing. And as you get into it, sometimes you'll feel like, yeah, I haven't been getting enough rest, or that kind of rest, that pleasure, or I haven't been getting, I'm seeing a new kind of hummingbird out feeding it on the feeder, or I'm not getting enough action. We can also crave full expression, like singing or dancing, working, letting our life energy flow. They're allies. Being and full on action are allies. So that's a dynamic practice. Just spend 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to love resting and being. I'm going to love doing. And in that space, your instincts will tell you, like, you need more rest, or you need that particular kind of sweet rest, when you've hiked for a couple of hours and then you sit by the river, or you lean against a tree. And then you need that full on joy of motion that you only know when you're cooking for a party, or gardening, or running with the horses, like taking care of the horses and then grooming them and walking them and working them out. You need full on passionate expression. So touch in with that full rhythm every day.
Yeah. And savor it.
Yeah. And you'll develop dials, like cars have like gas gauges and like temperature gauges and speed, and you'll develop gauges for your inner life where you sense kind of like a display, like in a car or an airplane. Yeah, I got both. I've got both rest. My body's happy from rejuvenated rest, and I've got action. You need both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we remember that it's totally individual.
Yeah.
As well as it can change from your morning to the night and from day to day. And
it can. And here's the perplexing thing, is that sometimes people aren't quite well, like emotionally or mentally. They have persistent feelings of dis-ease. And the problem is that they're not using their talent. They're not using their God-given capacity. This is one of the most perplexing problems. If we have a talent or a gift, whether it's like singing or cooking or teaching kids or climbing mountains or building sailboats, whatever our gift is, if we don't do that, we'll never be happy. We'll always be chronically depressed.
Yeah.
And there aren't enough drugs in the world to fix it. Because you can't fix what's not broken. There's no fix for the way in which you're not broken, the way in which you're just not living your full vitality.
Yeah.
So
I think last
challenge.
Last time we spoke at the beginning of our call last time, Tash, you used the word medication instead of meditation, and we thought, well, meditation is your medication, and even down to the physiological level that it releases your dopamine, your serotonin, and melanin and the like.
And it's a huge challenge for all of us. Back in the day, you just did what your mom did or your dad did. That was it. Yeah. That was your job in life. Just do exactly what your mother or your father did. That was it. So there's no like career choices. You just do that. In the modern world, we have the gift and the terror of having to reinvent ourselves almost every few years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, one of the greatest skills is to understand yourself deeply and sensitively and intricately and delicately. And then, you know, by developing that skill, we can be more attuned to what it is that gives us that sense of meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
Say passion, purpose, whatever it is. And to feel alive and to feel, you know, like you're really living your life. That needs to be expressed in some way. I'm not here to advocate and go, your passion must be your job. It doesn't necessarily have to be your job, but the thing that lights you up does need to be a part of your life.
It does.
And some people need to find what it is. And meditation, I think, can help so much.
Yeah, it does. And I'm still finding like I love training people to teach meditation. It's so much fun. It's just everything. And I loved it in 1972 when I first started training meditation teachers. I didn't like that I was feeding a cult and that the people I trained would come back just arrogant little creepy robots when they went on for further training. So I gave it up for a while. And remember what Tosh said at the beginning of the podcast, where we were doing like the simplest meditation and her instinctive animal was just bristling at the tyranny of doing a technique. Her rebel immediately came out. Remember that that's a gift. In other words, it's actually a successful meditation for Tosh because her rebel immediately came up. And then even more that she honored her rebel. She gave voice to the rebel. So as long as you're honoring your inner rebel, you're likely to be good in the field of yoga and meditation because you're rebel. But you might need a rebel's rebel. You might need several rebels because your rebel might start to like something a lot and forget to be rebellious. And you have to have another rebel that, hey, you were good for a while, but they got you. You fell in.
Change and flow. We come back to rhythm, that life is change and life is flow, and to be attuned to all the inner changes as well and inner preferences. It's a part of the journey as well, isn't it?
I'm still learning from music. I've been listening to like 20 different kinds of music, jazz, kind of improvisational jazz, like these jazz for quartets, 60s rock and roll, classical music. You know, I like Bach in particular, Gregorian chanting, Tibetan chanting, and Sanskrit chanting, and kind of like there's the new wave of yoga with music with Sanskrit, and current pop, and then 70s and 80s and 90s popular music. And each kind of music teaches me something about the rhythms of life. And I'm finding that day by day, I learn little teeny things that are very, very important, like how to listen to the space between notes and how, like, to hold a note, how to let music, how to open up so that breathing or listening to a mantra feels like being at a rock and roll concert every day. And it's been 52 years. It's like constant discovery.
This has been so good. I feel like we could talk for hours, and we've covered so much, and I know that we could go on and on and on, but I think there's been so much value in this conversation so far, rhythm and honoring your rebel, and, you know, welcoming the process of healing and recognizing it in itself as a skill. Did you want to say anything just to wrap it up, Lorin or Michael?
No, that's a wrap. That's a wrap, Michael.
And so in this recording, we will put links to your site, Lorin, and you and your beautiful wife are delivering online meditation teacher training. So we'll put links to how they can find you and your amazing books. I highly recommend those books. But yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you so much. And enjoy life on the other side of the Pacific Ocean.
On the other side of this beautiful ocean. Yeah, wave. But don't send alligators. I'm glad the crocodiles stay over that part of the ocean. That would freak me out. If I jump in the water here and one of those saltwater crocodiles pop out. Hey, I thought I would come visit y'all.
Not something you want to experience, is it?
No.
They like being down under.
Good. Yeah, that warm water.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Peace and love.
Your afternoon, your evening, your morning. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.